AEW Double or Nothing has ended and man, I need to talk about this. As I did with every pay-per-view, I took a shower, I jerked off, and I got my thoughts together, so let's talk about it. We would open up the night with the finals of the Women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament, Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter is definitely embracing being Daphne from Scooby-Doo. She's wearing Daphne's colors. During the match, Jamie Hayter would have her legs hooked up in the ropes on the outside, and Mercedes would nearly decapitate her with a meteor onto the outside. And all through this match, Mercedes is just targeting Jamie's back through the whole thing. And in this match, these women are throwing haymakers at each other. They want this Owen Hart Cup. Mercedes would go for a tombstone, but Jamie would reverse it and hit her with a tombstone instead, folding Mercedes in half. Toward the end, Jamie's going for the haterade on Mercedes, but she would move and hit a nasty looking roll up on Jamie, dropping her straight on her head and win the match. This was a very great match and a great way to open up the show. Next up is Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia versus FTR. When FTR's making their entrance, some guy's flipping off Dax, and Cash almost comes in and hits him, but then he stops. He's like, AEW doesn't need a lawsuit right now. Let me calm down. Nigel McGuinness comes out, and he looks better at 49 than I do at 22. At one point, Cash would hit the Tower of London on the outside, and yell top of the morning to you old fuck at Tony Schiavone. But Nigel would get a hold of Cash and make him say sorry to Tony Schiavone. FTR would hit a shatter machine on Nigel on the outside, taking him out the whole match. Daniel Garcia would try and fend for himself, but ultimately Dax would put Garcia in a sharpshooter, and Garcia would ultimately pass out. FTR wins, and it was a pretty good match. It went a little bit too long in my opinion, which amounts to fucking nothing, but it was still a good match. FTR was amazing during this match. Next up is Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet in AEW's first ever stretcher match. Ricochet would come out in an Akatsuki-like robe with one of his hands sticking out like he's Itachi, and Mark Briscoe comes out and, just to spite Ricochet, grew some of his hair back so he's not bald anymore. Ricochet would try to hit a shooting star press on Mark while he's on the stretcher, but Mark would move, and then Mark would go for an elbow drop and he would hit it while Ricochet was on the stretcher. Mark would get out a bucket of cleaning products. Mark squirts some cleaning stuff on Ricochet's bald head, gets a towel, and scrubs it all off, shines it up, almost blinding the cameraman. Mark would try to do a Sabu tribute, going for a triple jump off the chair, but Ricochet would just beam him with a chair. Ricochet would remove the padding of the stretcher and would bounce Mark's head off the stretcher, busting him open. Really bad. He was gushing blood. It looked like Ricochet was about to close the doors and win the match, but Mark was able to wedge a crutch into the middle of the doors, saving himself, and then hitting Ricochet with a fire extinguisher. Ricochet would ultimately win, using the scissors on Mark, low blowing him, and hitting the spirit gun on him, and putting him in the ambulance. Great fucking match, and a great first stretcher match for AEW. Next up is the Hurt Syndicate versus the Sons of Texas for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The Hurt Syndicate would come out, and MJF just sticks out like a sore thumb with them. This looks like when you go somewhere with your buddies, and your mom makes you take your little brother with you. The match, it wasn't anything crazy. The Hurt Syndicate wins, of course. No one's beating the Hurt Syndicate, maybe ever. Next up is Speedball Mike Bailey versus Kazuchika Okada for the AEW Continental Championship. This was a very good match. They made me believe that Mike Bailey was going to win this match for a second. At one point, Speedball will try to go for a kick, but Okada ducks and gives him the middle finger. Toward the end, Mike Bailey would go for his 450 knees on Okada, but Okada would catch him in midair with a beautiful drop kick. Then he would hit the Rainmaker on Mike Bailey and win. Very, very good match. When Okada decides to lock in, he's one of the best. Next up is Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa for the AEW Women's World Championship. At one point, Luther would be a shield for Toni, but Mina just kicks him in the dick, and Mina would use him as a boost to vault off his back onto Toni. Mina had Toni in a submission hold, but Toni was able to roll her up, and then Mina would roll her up, and then Toni would roll her up again, and almost win, and then Toni would hit the Storm Zero and win the match. This was a very good match, and after the match, Mina shows Toni respect by giving her a big old kiss. There was no Mariah May, so she most likely won't be coming back to AEW. Who knows? Next up, Anarchy in the Arena. Swerve comes out in a just absolute badass Predator outfit. Kenny comes out with a Captain America shield, even though he's Canadian. The Young Bucks get a special entrance and they come out dressed up as the founding fathers of AEW. There's 4 different screens of action going on with this 4-score ass music playing from the Young Bucks. But Kenny wants this 4-score ass music to quit, so he's like, let's change this music. And I'm so excited. I just can't hide it starts playing, and like, yeah, it's pretty good. But Kenny says, no, let's run that 2000s alternative music. And in my head, I had a song that was perfect for this match. I was like, man, I wish they'd play it. And they fucking did. Let the Bodies Hit the Floor by Drowning Pool plays. And at this point, I'm fucking locked in. Moxley stabbing Hobbs with a fork. Hobbs chucks Wheeler off into a sea of bodies, and then Kenny does a moonsault onto everybody. Hobbs gets payback and sends Moxley through a table. Willow breaks a bottle off of Mina's head and slams Mina into a table. Shibata puts barbed wire on his kick bags and kicks the shit out of Wheeler. Claudio would swing, swerve, and sling him into the speakers, unfortunately stopping the music. But Hobbs does love Drowning Pool, so he bulldozes Claudio for doing it. Young Bucks would put Kenny Omega through the table with a stomp and a power bomb combination that was fucking insane. Mina at this point has Willow stuck to the pole from her like earring. As the Bucks are going for the EVP trigger on Hobbs, here comes Swerve on a fucking forklift while Nana's in the back dancing, and he would hit a swerve stomp on the Young Bucks and Jon Moxley. Mina and Claudio hits Hobbs with a chair, but it doesn't even faze him. Willow and Hobbs take them out. Willow pulls down the straps, and she's got the same shirt that Hobbs has, and it's going fucking crazy. Who doesn't love Willow Nightingale? Matt pulls out a staple gun and uses it on Hobbs' back, but Hobbs is just too big, too black, and too jacked to feel anything. Swerve now has a staple gun, and he staples every single person that comes in his way. But now Nicholas has a staple gun, and as he's going to staple Swerve, Swerve staples him right in the dick. But Mina didn't like that. Mina kicks Swerve in the dick, and then staples Swerve's tongue. Samoa Joe's in the ring, and Claudio's coming in with a chair to attack him. But someone in a Keeney South Park hoodie comes and hits Claudio with a golf club, and it's a returning hook. And then he leaves. Where the fuck are you going? You could help us. Samoa Joe would have Moxley in a chokehold, but here comes Gabe Kidd to save him. The Young Bucks would put thumbtacks in Kenny Omega's mouth and hit an EV trigger on him. The Young Bucks and Gabe Kidd at this point are trying to take Samoa Joe to the stretcher to put him in the ambulance. But here comes flying Mark Briscoe, still covered in the same blood he still hasn't cleaned off. And with the help of the Ops, Willow, and Mark Briscoe, they all put the Death Riders in the ambulance and shut it. Nana would give Swerve his new shoes that he has coming out, but this one, these have thumbtacks on them. And while this is going on, Kenny's got one of the Young Bucks on the stage, and he hits a one-winged angel through an exploding table on one of them, and then Swerve hits a swerve stomp with the thumbtack shoes onto the other Young Buck, winning the match. This match was fucking peak. Give them all of the stars. The vibes in this were crazy. Just all this fucking mayhem while Let the Bodies Hit the Floors playing. This might be the greatest Anarchy in the Arena match I've ever seen. And one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. I could easily throw this fucking thing on while I'm back there on my bed, jerking off. I could put that on and easily watch that over and over again. And next up would be the Trios match, Paragon versus the Don Callis family. This was a very good match, but after Anarchy in the Arena, I don't even remember a damn thing about this match. I don't even remember who won. But after the match, the Don Callis family starts to beat up on Paragon, and some other team comes in, I forgot who it was. I'm still flustered from the Anarchy in the Arena match. But Brody King and Tomohiro Ishii come out, and Hiroshi Tanahashi come out to save Paragon. This is most likely setting up a huge tag team match at Forbidden Door against all these people. And now we get to the main event, the finals of the Men's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay. Hangman would get a great video package reminiscing on the person he was not too long ago and how he's on the path of redemption now. He's a better man. Hangman would come out in a cool, like dark neon entrance. It was pretty cool. In this match, there is definitely a big fight feel. It feels like the future of AEW is in the hands of the winner tonight. And in this match, there's unique lighting. The spotlight's all on this match, and for a damn good reason. Hangman would hit a buckshot lariat off the top rope, and as he's going for the other one, Ospreay would reverse it and hit a shooting star press on Hangman while he's on the ropes. They would end up fighting on the apron, going back and forth. Ospreay would hit a power slam on Hangman, and then hit a nasty Styles Clash onto the floor. They would go into the outside, and Ospreay just bashes Hangman's head into the announce table. At this point, Ospreay's become unhinged. He don't know what to do to beat him. Ospreay would go for a Tiger Driver on the announce table, but Hangman would reverse it and go for the Deadeye. but the table would collapse and they'd both fall, and like Ospreay's head spiked into the ground. Hangman would put Ospreay into the ring and he'd go for a buckshot lariat, but as he does, Ospreay's too exhausted and he stumbles back to the other side of the ring. Ospreay would get up and him and Hangman would meet eye to eye. Ospreay would take off his elbow pad, Hangman would take off his. These two are ready for a shootout like they promised on Dynamite. But Hangman would ultimately hit the buckshot lariat. Hangman will be up against the ropes and Ospreay's gonna hit it. Ospreay hits a V-trigger onto Hangman, stealing moves off of Kenny Omega. But as he's going for the one-winged angel, Hangman would reverse it, and he would hit Ospreay with big pressure, stealing Swerve's finisher. But at the last possible second, Ospreay gets his feet on the ropes. Towards the end of the match, Hangman would go for a buckshot lariat again, but Ospreay would reverse it and try to hit the Storm Drainer. But Hangman would reverse it and hit Ospreay with a sick lariat, and then Hangman was able to hit another buckshot lariat on Ospreay. 1, 2, 3, Hangman wins, and he wins the Owen Hart Foundation Cup. What a fucking match. I sat here, right here, clapping for about 5 minutes after this match ended. This match was just... it was beautiful. This is one of the greatest matches my eyes have ever had the pleasure of seeing. Hangman would go up the ramp to the cup, but he would look back just like he did to Swerve at All Out last year, but he's not the same man as he was last year. Hangman would go back to the ring and show respect to Will Ospreay and shake his hand, cause just like they said on Dynamite, no matter who wins, they should have the other man's back when they go up against Jon Moxley. And that was Double or Nothing 2025, and show of the year contender already. It's gonna be hard to beat this show. That main event and the Anarchy in the Arena and this whole show made me remember why I fell in love with professional wrestling. After all the mediocre WWE pay-per-views and all the bad press and decisions they've got themselves into, it's always great to know that we have an alternative like AEW to put on these amazing shows with all these amazing wrestling matches. I'm very excited for All In. Jon Moxley, we're coming to save that big beautiful belt, you bald fuck. Hangman's redemption arc is here and he will finish it at All In. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed Double or Nothing as much as I did. Tell me what your favorite match was. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll make more silly videos like this in the future, so stop on by when the time comes. But until then, be careful.